rock and roll. Good morning, podcasters. Today is Tuesday, May the 26th, 2026. And today, if hitting record on video makes you overthink everything before you even start, Katie Fawkes from Ecamm is here to help DIY podcasters build camera confidence without chasing perfection. So if you're listening live on Clubhouse, hit the share button, top right-hand side of the screen, and share it however Clubhouse lets you. And if you're catching us via podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, etc., please share this with a fellow podcaster. And now give us about 30 seconds, and we'll get things rolling. Thanks for being here. The Podcasting Morning Show is powered by Ironic Media, helping podcasters launch, polish, and grow great shows. And by Content Creators Accountant, helping creators build real business behind their content. Good morning again, Podcasting Morning Show. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Mark Ronick, and currently on the virtual stage with me, we have Ralph Estep, DR Fay, BC Babbles, and also Junaid Ahmed is here on stage with us as well. And good morning to those of you joining us bright and early on Clubhouse. Thank you for being here. Yes, so today we are going to interview, discuss, have a conversation with Katie Fawkes from Ecamm, and we will share more about Katie in just a minute. So an unofficial hello to Katie. And before I dig into everything, I do want to remind you that we are still accepting spotlight submissions here at the Podcasting Morning Show. So if you want to be in the spotlight here for free, no strings attached, you can submit a 60-second clip about your podcast, something that gives people a real feel for it. And if we select it, we'll play it on a future episode. We'll share what stood out to us and introduce your show to our community of podcasters and creators. So submit your clip now at podcastingmorningshow.com/spotlight. And as for today, we're getting into something that I think a lot of podcasters are thinking a lot about right now. And for some people, maybe avoiding a little bit of it too, video. Because for some creators, adding video feels exciting, and then there are others that feel like it might be maybe exposing. Suddenly, the questions start to pile up. Where do I look? What camera do I need? What if I look awkward? What if I mess up? What if I'm just not somebody who's good on camera? And the truth is that a lot of very capable podcasters feel that way. That's why this conversation really matters, and I'm so glad that Katie's here today. And Ralph's going to tell us a little bit more about Katie. Go ahead, Ralph.
Well, good morning, everybody. Yeah, our guest today is Katie Fawkes. She's the Director of Marketing at Ecamm, and she's co-host of The Flow. Now, there's where she helps creators, live streamers, and podcasters build better video workflows and show up more confidently on screen. And hey, we all need to do that, right? Mm-hmm. What makes this conversation especially valuable today is that Katie's advice isn't just professional, it's personal. She's been through a journey. She's lived a transition from behind the scenes work to becoming an on-camera creator, and she's had to work through that same fear, perfectionism, and self-doubt that so many podcasters feel. So today we're going to talk about what really makes being on camera feel hard, how to get more comfortable without overcomplicating the process, and what podcasters actually need to focus on if they want to start doing video with more confidence and less pressure. If you've been waiting to feel fully ready before hitting record, this episode is for you. So please help us in welcoming Katie Fawkes. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Yeah, and I think might as well just dive right in, Ralph, and I think you have the first question, but I'm dying to also talk a little bit about her VHS Club video podcast, because that one I learned about this past week, and I just instantly got infatuated with the show. So I want to hear more about that, but I'll let you take the first question, Ralph.
Yeah, good morning, Katie, again. So for people meeting you for the first time, Katie, how do you describe what you do today? How do you describe what you do?
Oh my gosh. All right, sure. Kick it off with the hardest question here at 8 in the
Really?
morning. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, I'm a general marketing person. So I technically my title is director of marketing. I lead a really incredible team over at Ecamm, and we make live streaming and video production software for the Mac. And on a day-to-day basis, I get the absolute pleasure of working with podcasters and creators, live streamers, and then people who are just brand new trying to get into video and helping them to discover how they're going to show up on camera and how to do it really effectively, powerfully, and professionally.
Well, that works. And so then I'm going to ask you a little bit about that podcast for a second. And actually, I think you have 3 different podcasts. Okay. But the one I was
do.
most interested in, I know you have The Flow, and I think that's an Ecamm show.
That's
Is that
an
right?
Ecamm show, correct?
Okay.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And then you also have what was that one? The Makers Matter.
The
Is that right?
And this is still surreal to me, and
Maker's
we will break
Table.
this down and talk about this, but it is surreal to me that somehow I ended up with not 1, not 2, but 3 video podcasts that I do live. So I live stream each and every one of them, which again, like if you had asked me this even 5 years ago, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Hard pass. But yeah, so I have The Flow, which I co-host with one of my colleagues, Doc Rock, and we share everything that you need to know about podcasting and how to add video into the world of podcasting. So if this conversation resonates, that's a great show to check out to kind of dive deeper into some of those topics. I host a 80s and 90s movie review podcast with my best friend on Thursday nights called the VHS Club, where we literally just geek out over movies, and you have the pleasure or horror of overhearing what we chat about. And then on Fridays, my friend Jeff and I, we just have it's called the Maker's Table, and it is a very casual, hopefully inclusive, safe space for people to bring a project, have it on in the background. I crochet, he carves wood, and we just chat about a variety of different topics. It's a Friday afternoons. It's a nice chance to kind of be like, okay, we did it. We got through the week. We're just hanging out together. The goal of that show was really to create a space where we could talk about anything, and we could just explore like how the digital world lines up against analog, and in how important it is to kind of get away from some of these digital spaces sometimes and really just do things with people, do things with our hands, make things. So it's been a really fun show. That's brand new, just started a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, cool. So the VHS Club video podcast, that I'm curious now. I saw you've had a couple of shows you did. One was what was the one that you just did?
The Last Dragon.
Last Dragon. That's right. Yes. And I know when I was growing up, I used to watch that movie.
That was your jam?
Constantly. Yes. I used to love those movies, that kind of movie. And then I saw you did Spaceballs not too long ago.
Upcoming. Spaceballs is this Thursday.
Okay, that's what I saw. Okay, yes, that's right. Upcoming. I'm looking forward to that one, and timely too, by the way, because I know there's some hype around the new one coming out soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay, cool. I love that. Do you have a favorite episode of the VHS Club that you've done?
Oh gosh, I really don't. I really enjoy, which I didn't think I would like this part of it as much as I do. But when we started the show, it was really meant to be just time for Nat and I to hang out. We grew up across the street from each other. So it was like, oh, okay, well, no one will come. We'll just sit here and chat and hang out about movies. And what I really have enjoyed the most, and my favorite episodes, are friends that newer friends that I've made along the way, most of whom have come to me through my job or spending time with other creators or attending conferences. So The Last Dragon was a great example of it. Jonathan, I met through a conference, all for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs that I had attended. And he was like, oh, I just would love to be on the show. I'd love to share all about The Last Dragon. It's my favorite movie. I love hearing what movies like excite people and trigger all that nostalgia and those memories. And I love that they just want to be on the show. I just think that that's so fun and humbling and awesome. And I feel like it's always a great chance. And when they leave, you're like, oh, well, you need to come back. Like we got to talk about all these other movies. So yeah, it's really fun to have guests on and really fun to hear everyone's favorite movie or what excites them. It's never what you think.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, because a little while ago you said, tell me 5 years ago that I'd be doing all this and I'd be like hard pass, right? So is that something where being on camera just felt weird to you, or is that confidence something that you had to build over time?
Oh gosh, not just weird, terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So I came from a writing background. I always wanted to work in publishing. My ideal job, if you would ask me like right out of school, I wanted to be a copy editor. I wanted literally to sit like in a library style room with like a red pen and a glass of tea or coffee with no people around me whatsoever and quietly correct novels. Like that was my goal. And I worked a little bit in publishing, but I somehow found my way into marketing, and that translated into copywriting and then social media. And flash forward a few years into my career, I had a job at a company called Paint Night. They're a company that does paint and sip parties at bars and restaurants across North America. Actually, I think across the world at this point. And I was managing and helping provide marketing support for, I think it was somewhere in the range of 160, 170 local business owners across North America. And so I had to create these training videos, and I would be completely fine in email, totally fine building resources, blog posts, PDFs, like everything they needed. Even pretty good on calls, like totally fine to be on like a video call. But every time the videography team would come in, like it would be like a team of people, right? You had like the sound guy and the video camera guy. The second that the camera came up in front of me, I can't even properly, and some of you maybe can relate to this. I still have this here and there, but like my heart would race, my hands would be shaking. Like everything that I had memorized or worked on was out of my head. It was the most like visceral, scary experience that I think I've ever
Hmm.
had. I could not get through it. And it ended up being this situation where I'm sure for them it was just insanely frustrating. Like they would probably have to go back and edit a ton. They were super accommodating. They'd be like, "We can come back, we can re-record it." But it was a hugely important part of my job, and so it was frustrating, and I just wanted to be better at it. And I've always been personal, so I couldn't understand what it was about the camera that really got me, but something definitely did. So then it was like completely ironic and utterly ridiculous that in a few years past that point, I ended up working for Ecamm, and loved what I did. But part of the job was this idea of like that you just had to be on camera. I can't help other people
Right.
understand this or get better at the software or be their best selves if I'm not willing to do it myself. So I had to push through, and wasn't easy, and it's taken time. I mean, I've been at this now for almost 7 years, but I'm so glad I did. And I'm glad that everyone has been so much nicer and more accommodating than I ever would have imagined. So yeah, it's definitely been a journey, but it was well beyond like I don't like this or this feels like weird. It was like something happened in my body. Like I just
Wow.
felt awful. Like it was just a horrible feeling.
And I mean, jumping ahead real quick, obviously, this is just another example to me of doing the things that make us feel really uncomfortable. And once we push ourselves to do that, there are a lot of benefits and rewards on the other side of that, often in many cases. So yeah, that's a cool thing to hear. And Ralph, I'll let you take the next one. I know you had a question.
Yeah, Katie, and I feel like exactly what you feel. I do a live stream here every morning, and then I do my own live stream on Fridays. And it's interesting, and I know you've mentioned this on one of your shows. It's different when it's just you on camera too, isn't it? Because I
Oh, yeah.
notice when I'm with this group, I don't feel any of those jitters. I don't feel any of those things. But when I turn
Sure.
that camera on myself on the live stream, it is like a totally different thing. My face gets red, my hands get hot. So I totally agree with what you're saying. Why do you think so many smart, capable podcasters freeze up when the camera turns on? What do you think that's all about?
I think it's different for different people. I've been giving this a lot of thought actually over the last, few years because it comes up a lot. I still am like you. When I'm by myself, it is a different it is a
Hmm.
different feeling. There is a safety in kind of being in a group of people. I think for me, it comes down to this feeling of there is a version of myself that I want to be that I want to share with people in this space. And I don't want to come across as looking dumb. I don't want to come across as looking ill prepared. I don't want to waste anyone's time. If I'm showing up here on camera, there is a value I'm hoping to provide for people. And so I think that honestly is what gets in my head, is this idea of, what if people on the other side are thinking, well, why is she showing up here? She's stumbling over her words. She doesn't look professional. She doesn't, she's not saying the right thing. Like, I'm leaving, this is not valuable. So I think a little bit of it is tied in that. I think a lot of people, and I've gotten past this point, but I think a lot of people also just like looking at yourself, seeing yourself on camera is uncomfortable in itself. Like, we all don't love something about how we look or how we sound. We're sort of always kind of like, oh, is that what I sound like? I don't love it. So I think, a little bit of it is probably tied in that. But if you really spend time and think about it, there's probably something in the back of your head that is holding you back or making it feel uncomfortable. So for me, it was, I am in charge, of the marketing team for this company. And when I show up, people have expectations, and I want to deliver on those. I don't want to disappoint people, and I don't want people to think less of me. So for me, I think that's still to some extent in the back of my head, and something I have to deal with when I show up on camera.
So you mentioned a few of these, but do you feel like you've seen, being with Ecamm and working with a lot of video creators, what are some other common fears that you hear from people trying to show up on video?
Yeah, the biggest ones for people who are brand new are how they look and sound. So, there's, something about them that it's an uncomfortable feeling. They don't want to look and sound a particular way. A second part of it is that there's like a particular image in their head of how they want to look to show up on camera. So, they've seen someone else. So like, they've looked, for example, at your background, Mark, and they're like, oh, like if I can get like a big blue lights behind me, and if I had this like incredible camera, then I would be, then it's like, well, then I would feel comfortable. Then I would be, I would be okay. So, most people in my space kind of fall into that bucket to some extent, whether they realize it or not. They're like, I would start with video, but I don't have the best camera yet. I can't afford it. Or, my lighting isn't great. My space isn't great. I'm only in a bedroom. I don't have, it's a defense mechanism, and kind of they're waiting for the right moment. But I think underlying that is again, like some kind of fear that's holding them back. Either they, know that they want to do it, but aren't quite sure what they want to say. They're worried that, someone will think less of them. They're worried about the trolls that might come out in the comments and say mean things. They're worried everyone will show. They're worried no one will show. all the different, which we still have. None of those fears go away. You just learn how to navigate them, or they become less important than what you're trying to create.
Yeah. And I think that, you mentioned the background stuff, and I know that, look, we often encourage people and tell them you don't have to have the coolest background in the world. And I agree with that. And I say that all the time. And I do think that it's fair to say that sometimes those little things can help build a little bit of your confidence. If you know you've got that nice looking background behind you, it's one less thing in your head to think about and talk yourself out of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, and I think the thing I will say about backgrounds, actually two things. One is that how fantastic a day and age that we are in, that I feel like people are craving humanity and real people. So I think in particular, that's freeing for many people who are brand new to this, or who are feeling like squishy about it, because the more you kind of put yourself into your background, and the more you sort of allow some of your character and the things that you really enjoy and the pieces of yourself to be a little bit visible, the more you're actually going to be able to connect with people, which is going to give you a ton more confidence. So it is actually kind of a nice time for it, and background, I think, plays a lot into that. So I would encourage people, like, I know it's so easy these days to like hit that like blur my background button, or to green screen it so no one can see what's behind you, but actually, like, people want to see what's behind you. There's an interest in what's in your space. It's an inside peek into your world. So do your best to make it fun and make it feel comfortable and make it feel like you. That actually matters way more than the camera and the lights and all of it. Is the points of connection, the points of humanity that people really need right now, more than ever, really.
Yeah, I know that one of the backgrounds I love the most as far as creators that I follow, and it's nothing that special, but Pat Flynn does a
Pat Flynn,
great
yeah.
job. He does a
Yeah.
great, and I always lean in and look to see, like, okay, what does he got there? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a Mandalorian helmet, and like I get excited about those different things, and he knows how to play to his audience, and I think those are both him showing some of his personality and also playing, I think, to his audience as well at the same time.
Yep.
I wanted to mention for our listeners, Katie's talking about backgrounds and stuff, and we're watching Katie in front of all of her yarn creations that she has. So there's like hundreds of them, all these different little creatures and stuff. So she walks the walk. So
that's right. And DR, did you have a question, or was that just?
I did.
Go ahead.
I had a question. So, do you have like a special formula, a trick, a hack that when you come across people who don't want to show up on camera, excuse me, what do you do to help them get past that hump?
Yeah, I wish I could say that there's like a magic bullet or something that makes it significantly easier. Usually, if I can, like if we have time and space to be able to do it, I do chat with them a little bit to understand like what their goals are. And usually, if we can have that conversation, it's easier to help someone understand that how important it is to push through that if their goals are that they're trying to build a business, using podcasting or video, or trying to connect with an audience, or trying to help people. It's a shift of, it's not actually about you. So it feels like it's about you because you're on camera, but it's not about you. It's about the people who are listening and watching on the other side. And you are taking away that connection point by not being on camera in some ways. Like, people want to be able to see you. They want those body cues. They want to be able to see what's behind you. They want to feel welcomed kind of into your space. It's why we always like look up, radio hosts. We're like, what do they look like? Right. We want to know that. So if I can talk with them, usually I can help in that way. If I can't talk with them, what I usually say, like in situations like this, is one of the most important things that you can do if you're at a point where you want to try to push yourself is phone a friend. Find your person. So, your sister, your best friend, your partner, whatever, phone a friend, find a friend, put the friend with you as comfortable as they're able to, either in the chat, if you're going to live stream, in the backspace. So we're here in Riverside right now. So like you could put them in the backspace. They don't even have to be on camera, but then you can see their face and you can see them spending time with you. So start doing it with someone else. Like, that made a huge difference for me, knowing that I wasn't by myself and knowing that there was a safe person there that, like, if I started to like panic, could like type a comment and be like, you're doing great, it sounds awesome, or like give me a thumbs up, and I could see them. That even today is still a huge part of why I'm able to show up, is just having someone there to be like, oh no, it sounds great. You're in your head. You're worrying about things that are silly. So if you can start doing that, whatever format it is, I would say just start pushing yourself. It could be a recorded video. Honestly, live streaming feels like it is the scariest. It is actually the easiest, and it is the fastest way to get comfortable. So if you can push yourself right to that, I would go right there. But phone a friend, find a friend.
That sounds just like it's out of Ralph's book, because he has said several times that he has one of his VAs sitting on the other side of the camera, and he's talking to her while he is live streaming. So it gives him someone to at least bounce off of, some eye contact with someone.
Yeah. And Ralph, what was the goal you have for?
And that's one of the cool things about Ecamm, Katie. I actually use Ecamm, the interview screen, and I have my VA. Her name is Abby, and she joins me every day as I record, or also when we do the live stream. And my goal is to make her laugh, cry, or show some emotion, because I was struggling. I've got this 24-inch prompter in front of me. And you talked about technology. I've got a ton of technology here in my studio, but it still wasn't working. I wasn't connecting. And one of my mentors said, "Hey, why don't you get somebody to join you in the studio?" And I said to my secretary, I said, "You want to come sit in the studio?" She goes, "You're boring. I'm not doing that." So then I got my VA to do it. And it's been a great relationship. We record every day because I do so many shows. It's ridiculous. But we record every day. And I see Abby pop in and it's like, I'm going to be okay today. And the days that I can make her cry in a good way, that's like my thumbs up days. Like I've accomplished something today because I can just picture, because, everybody said, well, just pretend like you're talking to one person. I even tried putting pictures in there. None of that worked for me. But when I could have somebody like you're nodding your head, Katie, when I can have Abby doing that, nodding your head, it made all the difference in my content. And it just made it so much fun. I also want to trumpet something you said. Live streaming has been the greatest asset that I've done and I love it when nobody shows up because then I don't have to worry at all. Because it's like I look down at my stream deck and there's a big 1 or a 2 and I'm like, okay, 2 people here. I guess mom showed up. Now my mom's passed away, but somebody has showed up and I'm like, I don't have to worry anymore, but it does help build that skill set, Katie. So thank you for sharing. I think that is a real winning idea.
Yeah, it helps. It helps in a few different ways that maybe people don't even fully appreciate. So it certainly helps you kind of put in the reps and practice, just being on camera. It's higher stakes because someone/anyone could show up, whether they show up live or they show up in the replay. And it also helps you understand and learn how to use all of your gear and learn what to do, not if, but when something goes wrong. So if the, internet goes down or a light goes out or like all of those different things, I learned how to navigate those situations, troubleshoot them, create appropriate backups by failing publicly in front of people. And it stinks for the first, few times that it happens to you. It even doesn't feel great now when it happens. But I now am able to laugh it off, remain calm, and understand what happened and be able to solve it in the moment. I wouldn't have learned that or been able to do that if I didn't put myself into the situation live. Like if I had spent time just recording, I would have been like, well, I'm going to toss that recording out and I'll do it again. And it would have been, I would have gotten there to the end result that I needed, but I wouldn't have learned the skill and I wouldn't have learned how to navigate all of it, not just the tech, but how it affects me personally, how to remain calm, how to work my way through it. And it's always something. There's always a cable. There's always some weird thing that happens, no matter how expensive your gear or equipment is. In fact, probably more often, the more expensive and complicated your gear is, unfortunately.
Yeah. Katie, let's see. We've got a couple people. I know BC Babbles, and also, by the way, Matt Bliss has joined us here on the virtual stage. I'm going to go to you in a second, BC, but one of our community members is up on the stage as well. I want to go there first. Gabe, good morning to you, sir. Did you have a question for Katie?
Yeah, I might be a little loud. Sorry, I'm driving. Katie, have you seen much difference when it comes to podcasting after you guys introduced like the vertical and the portrait live streaming? Because I know a lot of a lot of podcasters create video podcasts and they use the portrait landscape for their clips and stuff. So have you seen either an increase or how, it's shifted, how maybe podcasters decide whether or not to use a software like Ecamm?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So for those who don't know, and hi Gabe, by the way, it's so good to hear from you. It's if for those who don't know, so Ecamm has, and I think most tools these days have this feature, but you can basically create a wide or horizontal video feed and a vertical version of that feed simultaneously. And with Ecamm, you can fully design it. So your vertical feed might look completely different than your horizontal feed, but you can stream them simultaneously and you can record them simultaneously. So you sort of end your recording process with every conceivable type of file that you need in order to put it into all the different places or edit it or use it in any different way. And in answer to your question, Gabe, yes, I do think it's going to continue to be a really hugely fundamental part of content creation, podcasting, live streaming, because it does a couple different things. One, if you are leveraging streaming in vertical, I think from a discoverability standpoint, it's getting your content out in front of a much, much wider audience. And the second thing, which I think is equally important, is that because you're able to actually design in vertical the exact way that you want that video to look, it's saving a ton of time in clipping and post-production work, which for me was life-changing because I'm a terrible editor. So I don't have that time to spend. It's never going to look great because I'm just not good at it. And I don't have the budget for my personal shows to send that out to an editor right now. So for me, I used to take my wide horizontal full video for the VHS Club, for example. I would drop it into Opus, and then it would give me a whole bunch of different clips, which are great. They were all the right clips. They were helping to kind of grow my audience, build my community, but they never quite looked right. Like they would always, Opus would always like pull in the movie box that we had shown as like a person, so it'd be like me talking, but it would just be like the VHS box on screen, and that wasn't obviously ideal. So I would spend a bunch of time kind of tinkering away to get them to look the way I wanted them to look. Whereas now, because I'm recording in vertical, I can just drop that in, and then it uses AI to clip the exact right special moments. So now they look exactly the way that I want them to. I get like 20 or so per episode. It's just done. And honestly, I'm getting to the point where I might not even need Opus as much anymore. Sorry, Opus friends, because I can just hit like the M button on my computer every time I know a moment happens while I'm recording. And then I'll have all of those markers in Ecamm to say like, okay, I'm going to clip that. I'm going to clip that. And I can clip even in, I mean, honestly, like in the most simple of software is like, I can cut up a video in QuickTime without having any skill set. So I think it's helping to broaden our reach, but it's also helping to simplify our process while still delivering the best possible content. So now my whole goal is just to focus entirely on delivering the best possible episode, because I know that when I do that, AI can help me with getting it out in front of the right people. So for me, it's just like create the best possible episode, focus on the content, the time I'm actually spending recording, and the rest of it is wizardry and magic from robots. It goes a long way. So yeah, it's a great feature, and I use it all. I didn't think I would use it as much as I do. I use it all the time for every single thing. I'm always recording or streaming or both in vertical as well.
My one question about that is, so if it's doing it simultaneously, does that mean if I'm using the Ecamm software, I'm actually looking at two different types of content, horizontal and vertical, and am I switching them separately?
So you have a view where you see both the horizontal and the vertical side by side, but you are building. So Ecamm works. It has this functionality where you build out a profile, which is like equivalent to a show, and then within the profile you have scenes that you flow through when you're actually live streaming or recording. And so you can build all of those out in advance so that when you're switching, it's switching both of them at the same time. But again, the vertical may look completely different. So for the VHS Club, for example, I have this like very kind of like branded side-by-side shot. And sometimes, as I said, I have like, one or two or even more guests on. Whereas in the vertical, these days, I actually have been making that more camera focused, because the graphics I don't think matter as much, and I don't have as much real estate in that space. So that might be, I use Zoom active camera, so then it actually just switches the cameras automatically for me, and I don't have to even think about it. So yes to being able to see everything at once, but no, it's all set up so that you're switching once, you're recording once, and everything is just doing what it's supposed to do. So you don't need to be worried about like, oh shoot, I've got to move over into the next scene for vertical. It's all automated and makes it really easy for you to do that.
Cool. And for what it's worth, John over in the YouTube chat says, one of my Ecamm wish list items is to have a producer option where I can give control to a producer. Is that something that you guys are thinking about?
It's been on the list for a while. It's slightly more complicated than it would be for a web tool like what we have here, because a web tool, anyone is able to like look up the website and have a separate login. Ecamm is a desktop application that you're installing on your computer. So the ability to sort of allow someone else access to software that's on your computer is just a little bit more complicated. It is possible in that we do have a full integration with Zoom, and then we also and I think Ralph, you were saying this earlier, but we also have what's called an interview mode, which allows people to connect remotely through a landing page. So it's possible, but we want to do it the right way, and obviously make sure that we're protecting everyone's privacy and security, and making it as good as an experience as possible. But it is, I guess I would say, somewhat of a limitation of a desktop software is that because you own everything and it's sitting on your computer, it just makes it harder for us to be able to help grant access.
Makes sense. Real quick, let me pause here and remind indie and DIY podcasters that Empowered Podcasting 3 is coming, and it's where you come to connect, create, and grow with people who truly get what you're building. So join us August 21st through the 23rd in Charlotte, North Carolina, for 3 days of community, strategy, and real conversations to move your podcast forward. Get your tickets now to be a part of Empowered Podcasting 3. Just go to empoweredpodcasting.com. And BC, you've been waiting very patiently. I know you have a question. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I've been trying to think if I've had to reevaluate the question because we've kind of tapped around it, but I don't think we've quite hit it quite on the head. So my question is, when it comes to working with new video creators who have scripted content, I know I've got segments of my own content that are very scripted, lots of information, and they're concerned about whether or not they're going to make enough eye contact with the camera, but they don't want to make it obvious that they're visually jumping back and forth from the camera lens to the script, because they want to make sure that they're hitting their mark, they're getting the information out, they want to sound clear and at least have a flow, but they don't want the audience, at least on the video end, to notice that, oh, they're reading something that's gonna, and that might cause some kind of disconnect. So what are your thoughts when you have a new video creator who has that particular concern?
I have a couple different thoughts on that. I think first off, it's not as important as it seems to glance down at your script. In fact, and this depends on whether or not, obviously, you're recording something and making like a quote unquote kind of more polished video, or you're live streaming. I would say if you're live streaming, it's not important really at all. Like, you want to be able to make eye contact as much as you can, but I think it's absolutely fine to glance down. I'm looking at you, I'm back up at my camera. And that's just a matter of practice to get good at that. There are some tools that you can use to make a lot of that easier. So obviously you can have a teleprompter. You can leverage, a lot of our customers will leverage a Stream Deck so that they actually don't need to look down. They have tactile buttons they can press that trigger actions, flow through the content, pause, unpause, mute, unmute, those kinds of things. That makes it a little bit easier and saves some of that time. So I would say while it's important, it's not as important as it seems. So I would focus more on delivering the best possible content and being real and caring about your audience than you do about being perfect and about getting the script out exactly the way that you want it to. But if it really, really matters on having it like exactly as it is scripted, then I would say having a teleprompter goes a really long way. And at least within Ecamm, and I'm sure other softwares as well, you have the ability to just record and you can pause and unpause. And there is also what I've found for myself, and I will be the first to say I am way less confident and comfortable when I record videos. I still doubt myself. And there's something about, because when you're live, you just have to push through. If I say the wrong thing here, that's kind of too bad. We're just going to
You can't overthink it. You have to keep moving.
Yeah, I have to keep moving. Whereas when I record, I have the ability to hit that pause button. I do a lot of this where I just lean into my microphone. I'm like, I can't believe I said that. That was so
I've done that before. Yeah.
That wasn't what my script said. But I will say that I have started using visual cues or even written cues. So now these days I will actually produce a recorded video as if I was creating a presentation, but try to make it a little bit more visually interesting. And those cues help me stay on track with my script without actually having to have the script in front of me. So, maybe I'm doing a presentation on camera confidence and I want to share my paint night story. Maybe I will put like a little photo of like the paint night logo up on screen. And that will be like, okay, right, that was where I was going to share that. And if I have those scenes in order, I can also label them in Ecamm. So I can lay it out as if I was laying out a PowerPoint or a keynote presentation. And that helps me remember it quick and easy, a lot easier than bulleted lists, a lot easier than a script, and help me to flow through the content. So that is what I do. It's not for everyone. I've just been pushing myself to be, I started as a writer, as I said, so I want to write everything out. I'm way better at writing it than I am at speaking on the cuff, but I think it actually comes out better when I work through the content and spend the time practicing and then put the script aside, put the notes aside, and just focus on doing my best to deliver it. And at some point it's good enough. And I'd rather get the content out there and help people than kind of sit and spend all of that time trying to get it perfect. So it's a great question though. Something people struggle with a lot.
And it also goes back to Yeah, just being confident and being relatable, right?
Mhm.
Like, instead of being so tied to that script and just working through it, like you said, on the fly, I think really helps you connect with an audience for sure.
Yep.
DR, you had something, and then we're going to go to Ralph.
Yeah, I want to roll it back just a little bit and ask some fundamental questions about Ecamm for our listeners who are brand new to podcasting. Sometimes we forget that we get listeners that are maybe even thinking about podcasting, haven't even approached it yet. So when we talk about live streaming, um, Ecamm gets mentioned along with Riverside, what we're on right now. It gets mentioned with Squadcast. Is it Squadcast? What's the one that Descript has?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Squadcast.
Yep.
Okay. So it gets mentioned with all of those. Are they oranges to oranges, or do they have differences, or what?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking that, because they are actually quite different. They can accomplish the same thing, which is why they come up in conversation. Ecamm is probably closest to an OBS, which is a free open source application. It is software that you are installing on your computer, and it is traditional video production software that is structured for a live streaming first workflow. So you can use it to go live, multi-stream, do kind of everything within the live streaming space, but you can also use it to record videos and to run like pretty large TV quality broadcasts. But it is not initially I guess what I would say is like a web-based solution, like a Riverside, like a StreamYard, Restream, Squadcast, some of these other ones that you mentioned. They are really meant for like brand new beginners to be able to get up and running with their tools. They allow for really easy collaboration. And it's, anyone can kind of pick them up and use them. They have a lot of templates built into them. Ecamm has a higher learning curve, but grows up with you a lot more. So you can do a lot more with it than a lot of those softwares. And the production quality is much higher because it's not web-based. So it's not relying on the internet in order to create video. So I think that's probably the best way to explain it. So it's not like if you are brand new, you might open up Ecamm and be like, whoa, it might feel like a lot and take a little bit of time to kind of work your way through it or remember what it is you signed up for to accomplish within it. Whereas I think if you open up a Riverside, it's a lot more like, oh, okay, I'm here to record a podcast. Because Ecamm does all the different things, you sort of have to know what you want to do with it and turn off everything else until you're ready for it.
Right. Just one more question for the newer podcasters out there. Ecamm is native to
Mac.
Mac,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no plans of drifting into PC at all. Right?
How many times do you get that question, Katie?
all the time. I used to be. It's so funny. When I first started, I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like, maybe I can talk them into doing something different. This is kind of a logical, come on, guys. Like, there's a whole PC market out there who want to be able to use this. The reality is I spent more time with the team is that this app was intentionally designed to leverage everything about the Mac. So unfortunately, it's not as easy as just pushing a button and switching something over or hiring a PC developer to be able to make it work. It works so powerfully and so beautifully because literally every aspect of it is designed to work off of these Mac computers. That's why it doesn't at the moment work on an iPad or is not a mobile device. It's meant to be like powerful video production software that is using all of the power of your Mac computer. So as much as I wish it was as easy as just kind of switching over, it's not. And that's, again, like why it is very different than a web-based tool, which can work, agnostic of any different platform. The one thing I will say is that two things. One, it's actually really affordable to get a Mac these days. So I would say switching over and having a dedicated machine for video production is a good best practice anyway. So if you're serious about this, having a machine that is dedicated to this, at least to some extent, is really important. And also there are lots of other great tools out there. So if you're just getting started and you're like, wait a sec, Katie, I can't buy a brand new Mac and a camera and all this different stuff. You don't have to. You can start really simply. You can start with these softwares are great. We're in Riverside right now. It's an awesome piece of software. So it depends on what your goals are. Ecamm is there for fairly high level video production. So, you can use it for these easy productions, but it is going to offer you much more in the long term. So you just might not be ready for it at this point, which is completely fine.
Cool. All right. I think,
you.
Ralph, you had something.
Yeah, and I jumped into Ecamm at the front end, Katie, because I just figured I'm going to cross this bridge because that's
All
where I
in.
want to end up. So I was all in, my friend, and Jeff C, who's going to be on the show here in a couple of weeks. He really helped me a lot with that too. But I want to
Awesome.
go into the next. I want to pivot a little bit here. On the show, I talk about all the time that I think the future is video. And so for the audio podcaster that's adding video right now, what do you see that needs to change first? Before they hit record, what should they start to do as they think about transitioning to video?
Transitioning can be really, really difficult, particularly if you've been doing an audio only podcast for a really long time. I think this is what's like difficult for people to get their head around. And I feel like a lot of folks are in a space where they're like, they feel this intense pressure to make their audio podcast have video. So they're like, okay, well, anything that I can do to like, go back in my old catalog and like turn these audio episodes into video, or like, how do I do it going forward? I actually don't think that that's the best approach. Like if you've spent all of this time building an audio only, show, you have a listenership audience. I actually think starting to approach it a little bit differently is a better option. I would say add in video elements, experiences, moments that can delight your existing listenership, but start getting your content out in front of a new audience. So this could be like, hey, we're doing, for Nat and I, if we had a audio only podcast for the VHS Club, what I would do to get into video would be like, hey, we're gonna do, a movie night. Like, come on in. We're gonna have, set it all up. We're going to be in our pajamas. We're going to, have create it so it feels like a special experience and not just one of your regular episodes, to start playing around with how you want to show up on camera, what that looks like, what that experience is like. I would do that first instead of kind of thinking about how to replicate your entire catalog, because that is daunting. And I don't think you need to. I think you need to figure out how you want to show up on video, and it might be the same. Maybe you do transition your episodes over. It might be different. Some of my favorite shows are audio only, but they do a monthly episode that's video, or they do, a special experience where it's a live Q&A with the host and you actually get to come in and spend time with them. And that's fine. They're still in those spaces. They're still, growing in different ways. And I think that that's okay. It's figuring out where you want to be. If you're brand new, I would say, and you don't have to kind of worry about a back catalog, I would definitely start with video for a few different reasons. But I think it's asking a lot of someone, particularly folks who have, hundreds of episodes, to be like, well, you need to make this big switch.
Yeah.
Switch it all over. And it's asking a lot of that audience as well. They're used to spending time with you in a audio way, and they may not want to switch over. There are lots of shows I just listen to and I love listening to that, and maybe I catch an episode here or there on my TV in the evening and I'm watching them, but I'm like, I've connected with them in an audio space, and I think that's fine.
Cool. Well, I'm curious then, if someone's trying to prioritize their video setup well, what matters most early on? Do you think it's, I'll give you examples, like the lighting, the framing. Is it the microphone, the sound quality, camera quality, or is it confidence? Like what do you think's the things to prioritize first?
Oh, great. Okay. Well, if you're going to throw non-tech stuff in there, then yes, I would say confidence, understanding the community that you're building, understanding what the goals of your show are, those things first. And
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, there are a lot of people that I speak to on a regular basis where they are all in on it. Like, they're happy to spend the money. They've signed up for Ecamm, and I'll get on a call and I'll be like, okay, what's your show about? And they're like, they have no idea. They just they just really want a podcast. They want to be in this space. So yeah, understanding what all of those pieces are first. And then when it comes to gear, if you are already an audio only podcaster, you have a huge leg up, because the most important part always remains your audio. People will watch terrible video quality if they can hear you. They will not stay if they can see you and you are on mute or your audio sounds terrible. It's a horrible experience. So
I'm just so glad you're
microphone
saying
first.
that, because I know we say it a lot here, and I think a lot of people are just like, oh, that's because they're audio first podcast. But no, here's a
Nope.
video person saying audio is the first priority. Interesting.
Audio first, and it is also the most complicated to learn. So find a microphone that you can spend time with and make sure that it makes sense for you. Don't just take the piece of advice that someone publicly told you on YouTube or where else. Like, really think through what your budget is, what you're trying to accomplish, whether or not you want a microphone to grow with you, or you just need something right now that's a little bit better than your built-in. But don't use your built-in, don't use your AirPods, don't use your headphone microphone. Get a real microphone that connects to your computer. That's first. And then from there, honestly, software to be able to create podcasts, that would come in probably right at the same line as microphone, maybe at one step afterwards. Good lighting probably would be I would put camera almost at the very end, because realistically, what you have on your phone, it does a really phenomenal job. What's built into your computer, if you have a newer computer, is actually pretty darn good. And then there's like a bajillion webcams out there that are not expensive, that make a huge difference. Like, understanding your background, understanding basic photography framing goes a long way, and lighting goes a long way. This camera that I'm using right now was $129. I downgraded. I have access to every conceivable camera in the studio. I can bring them all home. They were complicated. I never I had to mess with all the settings. There was all this extra stuff I had to learn. This one is like this big, and it plugs in USB into my computer. It always works. It looks great. I feel good about it. So, and I feel good because I know if there was a failure point, there's only two things that could be wrong, right? Either like the camera is broken or the cable is bad. Like, there's not a lot of stuff I can mess with. So, I think that would be the order. To think
Katie,
about.
are you using a ring light right now?
I'm not. I have.
Okay.
I upgraded my lighting, and I'm constantly messing around with it. I like lighting because I can see it. I'm always like, oh, it's lighter here. I'm like darker here, and I'm shifting stuff around. I have I think it's a newer light that's up here with a traditional softbox on it. That's my main light. I have a Elgato key light, like one of the older key lights, on my desk, kind of as
Me too.
these are like side shots. You too? Awesome. It's great because it's super easy, super affordable. And then I think I have an extra one here to show you. One sec. I do. I bought these two little guys. They are Nan lights, and they're called a Pavo tube. I really like them for a couple of reasons. You can get them in any size. These are little, and they weren't all that expensive. They're either battery powered, or you can keep them plugged in. So I have one right now just with like normal white light as like an extra light on me because it was a bit dark in here. But I love them because you can actually change their color. So if I wanted to do what Mark is doing, I could actually like put purple, blue, I don't know, whatever color lights behind me. And they have a magnet on the back, so they like stick to anything. You can attach them to any kind of stand. So they're great. They're sort of and they're little enough that I can toss them in a bag and bring them with me. Like, I could pack up my whole setup and look great anywhere. I have a laptop, everything. Even this microphone, I can toss in a bag and be able to plug into
that's
my
a
computer.
Shure MV7, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah. And what about the camera, since we're talking about your equipment? Do you know what brand?
I love it. So I'm Team OBSBot, which is hilarious. It literally is OBS bot. It's built for our competing software, but I love it. I think it's great. So this one's called the Meet 2. It's a 4K webcam. As I said, it's $129. It's literally this big, but I have a whole bunch of them. I have they make also a line of PTZ cameras that they pan, tilt, and zoom. So they have like a little. I'm trying to see if I have an extra one here nearby to show you, but it's like right out of reach. But yeah, they're great because you can. Technically speaking, I could put it, on the other side of the room, and then I can actually control it digitally. So I could, pan around my room and show you what's in the space if I had been wise enough to set it up before jumping on. But I really like them because, again, they're like super affordable for anyone to use. They just work. They're small. They plug in by USB to your computer. So it's nice to these days one of my colleagues, Doc Rock, says all the time, like, this stuff used to be millions of dollars in
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
closed off TV studio. And the fact that I can like show up anywhere, look and feel professional, and have these kinds of experiences is still wild to me. I think it's maybe $500 worth of stuff in this
Yeah.
space. Like, it's pretty crazy that we're able to do this.
I've been podcasting for over 20 years, and even 10 years ago, this would be almost impossible. What you're able to do, what we're able to do now with our studios, equipment, software, it just wasn't available 10 years ago, that kind of variety for competitive pricing. It just wasn't out there. And so, yeah, even 10 years ago, it was like you either had a TV studio or you didn't. You just had to make do with kind of whatever was out there at the time.
Yep.
All right, cool. So we have BC that has a question. I think Ralph has another question, and we've got only a few minutes left. So let's see how we do this. Go ahead, BC.
Yeah, small quick question. How much extra was the customization on your Shure microphone? Because I do not recall seeing that color combination on the store.
It's
I must know.
I can't remember what the cost was, so maybe I've lied about my 500 because maybe I can't. You'll have to look it up. But the company is called Colorware, COLORWARE, and you send your microphone to them, and they do this. It took a really long time to pick because you can customize like almost every aspect of it, and there's so many colors to choose from. This one was like this iridescent, like purpley pink, but yeah, I had like in the cart 5 different times. I was like, maybe blue.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's you'll waste a lot of time there.
Oh yeah, there
but
are
it was a lot of
options on
fun.
here.
And then this is just I think they're called windscreens. I always get the name wrong.
Me too.
But Doc, who is my colleague, makes these, and they're at a website called DocPops, DocPops.com. He's got a ton of different colors and options. And I think I have a hot pink one too, but it always kind of looks a little bit red on camera. Probably poor lighting on my behalf.
Yeah, I'm a fan of using the different colored foam windscreens. Yes,
Yeah.
I like that. It adds a little something to it.
Yeah.
All right, Ralph, do you have a final question for
I
us?
do. Thank you, Katie. And I want to ask you, what are the most common setup mistakes you see from podcasters starting video? So those who are just getting ready to get started, what do you see as the most common setup mistakes, and how do you overcome those?
I mean, probably feeling like they need to have like this very complete full studio to start. So I think they get into, I've been calling it like checklist mode. It's like, well, they don't have the best camera, it's not set up correctly, or, they have all these things that they like, if they get through it, then they can start. So putting it off and waiting until you have everything, I think is a huge issue that they make. Not doing a tech check, which I have absolutely been guilty of. You like jump on, you're like, it looks good, everything looks fine, and just starting to record. Like the amount of times where they got all the way through a video and they realized that they were on mute the whole time, or I don't know, the internet fails because they didn't double check their speed tests, or all of those different kinds of things. So having time for a tech check, I think, is really important. I mean, those are probably the biggest ones.
Mhm.
The other stuff you're just not going to predict. I feel like a lot of times we also think it's a little bit easier than it is, and so we don't spend as much time understanding some of the technology. So like for example, if you're gonna use your mirrorless camera as a webcam, which you absolutely can, you can plug it right into your computer, it shows up, looks beautiful. You better understand what all those different settings are and whether or not it's has the potential to overheat. Have you checked the batteries? Like, I intentionally made this space as simple as possible so that I was able to kind of eliminate a whole bunch of those failure points. And I think people who are brand new, if they have the most, they might do the most, but they don't take the time to read the manual or fully understand what might happen with some of these more complicated pieces of tech. Because none of us are like, again, this used to be a career of multiple people. There was a camera operator, there was an audio engineer. So you are that person for your own show. So you really need to understand how to do these things. Or if you aren't ready to do that, then you need to make it as easy as possible for yourself and make sure that you're at least, checking the bare minimum of boxes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, Katie, thank you for all of this today. I think what you've helped make clear is that getting comfortable on camera is all about recognizing that it's not about being perfect, and instead focus on just showing up, practicing, learning, and letting that confidence grow through the repetition.
Yep.
Yeah. And for everybody listening, if video has felt intimidating, hopefully today reminded you that you don't have to master everything at once. You just need a starting point, and maybe a little courage and some willingness to improve. And what I love about Katie and what she's shared today is, here's somebody who works for a company that's all about video, but she's not telling us we have to have the best equipment, the most expensive equipment, the best software out there, right? It's really all about what feels right to us, what works well for us and our setup. So I really appreciate everything you've shared today, Katie. And if you don't mind, let people know where they can connect with you and learn more.
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about Ecamm, you can just search ecamm.com as our website. We have an incredible community. You don't have to be using the software to be part of our community. It's a public Facebook group. Anyone is welcome to come in and ask questions and practice and sort of see what other people are up to. So come lurk in our community. You are welcome to get to know us a little bit better there. And I'm involved in a lot of workshops and trainings and things in that space. So you can certainly find me there. If you want to geek out over movies, you can find me on the VHS Club podcast. That's the VHSclubpod.com. We record live on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern over on YouTube, but obviously you can listen or watch wherever you want. Maker's Table is Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern over on YouTube. The Maker's Table Live is what you can search over on YouTube. And then The Flow. In a few hours here, so we go live Tuesdays at noon Eastern over on YouTube, on Ecamm's YouTube channel. And we talk about all things video podcasting. I think you'll find me personally if you find me under any of those spaces. I'm not hard to find.
Sure. I'm sure. And we have links all in the show notes as well. Yes, Alex, go ahead.
I was lucky enough to be a guest on her VHS podcast.
Hey!
And how are you, baby? I didn't get that. I had a problem. I couldn't get in here earlier. But I just wanted to say it is so much fun. She does a great job. It's the best of Ecamm. I still haven't figured it out, and that and the script are like the bane of my existence. But I want to know more about it, and she is so helpful. After Podfest, she was nice enough to do a tutorial. I didn't even buy it yet, and she was nice enough to try to walk me through it. So I just can't say enough good things about her and the Ecamm community, despite Billy being a focal point of it. Despite that, no, actually, one last thing. I know we're over time. They had purchased these phone holders and at Podfest, and they didn't work out. And this is the kind of company that they were. They actually allowed some of the participants to take them, which I still use today for some stuff. And she's been a really great asset. And if you can work with her, anybody that's listening, it's money well spent.
Thank you, Alex. Good endorsement from Alex. And so Katie, thank you. And hopefully we can have you back sometime and talk more with you about podcasting and video and all the things. So, and a reminder to the rest of the group, by the way, we are back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, covering all the headlines around the world of podcasting and sharing our 2 cents about those headlines. So come join us for that. If you want to find the different ways you can join us, just go to podcastingmorningshow.com/join us. Thank you again to Katie Fawkes. Thank you to Ralph for setting this one up for us, and we'll see you tomorrow. So until then, make it a great day, everybody. Take care.